Well, you may have noticed this kind of weird thing that happens in Washington. The goals of the Pentagon and the defense industry that supplies it are aligned. Why? Take a look at the executive ranks at any major defense contractor. Former flag officer after former flag officer. Everyone in D.C. has known this for generations now. Back in October, the sitting president decided to point it out in public.
We're bringing them all back home. Many of them home. Very, very few left. We're bringing them home. Got to fight the military-industrial complex. Eisenhower would talk about it all the time. The military-industrial complex. They don't like them coming home, but they've been brought home. And Afghanistan, 19 years, I think, is long enough for we're serving as policemen, right?
Well, within about 20 minutes, you started seeing stories in the usual propaganda outlets claiming the president hates our troops. Criticize the Pentagon and you hate the troops. No one's writing stories like that about Joe Biden. Biden has been a defender of the defense industry for decades. Back in 2003, he was an avid defender of the invasion of Iraq.
Some of my own party have said that it was a mistake to go to Iraq in the first place. The cost of not acting against Saddam, I think, would have been much greater. And so is the cost, and so will be the cost, of not finishing this job.
So, under Biden presidency, our foreign policy is likely to change. And the question is how? Well, in May, Joe Biden's foreign policy advisor gave us a preview of that. He's a man called Tony Blinken. He said he considers America's military presence in Syria to be, quote, leverage.
And to the extent the United States had any remaining leverage in Syria to try to effectuate some more positive outcome, unfortunately, the Trump administration has more or less torn that up too, pulling out entirely in Syria has taken away significant leverage.
Significant leverage. Well, it turns out we haven't pulled out of Syria. In fact, we learned today that there are more American troops in Syria than any of us knew. The Pentagon apparently lied to the administration about that. So we're not leaving Syria because it's leverage. Are we ever leaving Afghanistan? Apparently the administration is trying to pull out in the next month. Is it going to work? Jimmy Dore is the host of The Jimmy Dore Show. This is a subject he's followed very carefully for a while. Jimmy Dore, thanks so much for coming on. Are we ever getting out of Afghanistan, do you think?
Well, if we ever are going to get out of it, it's got to happen before the end of the year, before Biden and his military-industrial complex goons take over, because they're never going to get us out of there. So Donald Trump has a chance right now, right? Mr. Art of the Deal. Don't be afraid of Mitch McConnell. What he's got to do is order those troops home right now and then have them fight it out in Congress. Have them reveal this. If he has to blow up the GOP to do it, do it. He can be a man right now who goes into history books if he does that. Does he want to go down and being a big shot on Twitter? He can do it right now. I mean, he's been commander-in-chief for 4 years. Now, I know he's head-faked and said he wanted to take people out before, and he's drawn down troops here and there, and then he's ramped them back up in the Gulf and done other things. Now is the time for Donald Trump. Everybody is sick and tired of these wars. You know it. I know it. Left, right, in the center. Sure. Everybody wants these wars over. Donald Trump can do it, and he can be a man of consequence instead of letting it, because he didn't give everybody health care. He didn't drain the swamp. He didn't bring our troops home. He can still do that. He can pull this off. It's not too late. Is Trump for real? Because if he brings our troops back home and invests that money back here, he will be remembered as a historically consequential president instead of an aberration in a reality TV show host who got lucky. Trump, he's forgetting what got him elected in 2016. He didn't fulfill any of those promises. Now is a chance for him to do it. Bring those troops home. Show Mitch McConnell you're the boss, not him. Expose the warmongers in Washington and in the military-industrial complex, like he said, and do it now. If he doesn't bring the troops home by Christmas, then Donald Trump is not the art of the deal. Donald Trump is weak. Donald Trump doesn't follow through on his own promises. So he's got to bring those troops home by Christmas, and then you'll know Donald Trump is the art of the deal, and then you'll know he means business. But if he doesn't, you know he just rolled over again for the intelligence community and the military-industrial complex. Because it's been 4 years. I get, hey, he's appointing McGregor now. That's fantastic. It's a little late, right?
What does it tell you? You said a second ago that the public supports this left, right, and center, and I think all the polls show that. No one can explain why we're in Afghanistan, and yet we're still there. What does it tell you about our system, about the democracy and the health of the democracy, that the public wants something and has wanted something for a long time, but it doesn't happen under any administration? What does that reveal?
Well, we have to resist the undue influence of the military-industrial complex is what it tells me. That was another president who told us that. What it also tells me is that our vote doesn't really matter when it comes to foreign policy one bit, right?
Yeah,
because people want, even a president wanted to bring people home. And who really is pulling the levers? It's the military-industrial complex and their toadies in Senate and the Congress. Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief. Do this.
I agree with that. Jimmy Dore, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Good to see you.
Thanks.